How did you communicate? You obviously texted your mom, but how did you communicate? How were you received by the people you worked with, the person who was the boss or the owner? Like, how did they respond to
I mean, they
this?
didn't know me,
Right.
and I didn't know them. It
Yeah.
wasn't even like a 2-week thing.
Yeah, yeah,
it was
yeah.
genuinely, nice to meet you. Here's this shift. Oh, now she's quitting.
Right.
So I genuinely don't even know what their impression was. I remember the bakery I worked at, the boss was just very concerned with getting the apron back. It was like a very like, okay, well, make sure you return the apron.
Wow.
I was like, okay, I will make sure the apron gets back to you. So that was strange.
Did you give the apron back?
I actually don't know if I ever did. Sorry, but I think I felt more shameful about it towards like my parents and my sister, my older sister, because my little sister was young and didn't have a job. But I think I just felt like, oh, look how pathetic I am. I can't even, like, my anxiety is really that bad. I can't even hold down a job, when I know my sister at the time was like a hardworking waitress at a restaurant and had been for multiple years. So I just felt pretty pathetic at the time, which is obviously a very shameful feeling.
I mean, that's so tough, and especially for it to happen twice. And when you start judging yourself and you start causing pain towards yourself verbally, or you become internally abusive towards yourself. And as you said, you start comparing yourself to siblings and partners or whoever else, family that's in your life.
Yeah.
How did you get the courage to try again when you've got into such a dark space of, it's not just a dark space, it's like you're actually experiencing physical panic attacks. So it's not just mental, it's physical and mental, it's emotional.
Yeah.
How are you still getting the courage to go, okay, I'm going to go Pier 1 imports, or I'm going to go even into acting, of course?
It was my drive to be an actress. It's something that has truly lived so deep inside me. It's the core of who I am. Which we'll come back to that, but it was truly my undying ambition and drive to be an actress, where I knew I needed money. I needed money to make this happen. And the anxiety was just I was going to have to find something that I could handle, tolerate, I think was the right word. You know, I obviously couldn't be going to work and having panic attacks every day. So I just needed to find something that I could tolerate. And Pier 1 ended up being a situation where I was working around mostly older women, which I think also says something about who I am. I wasn't comfortable working around these young people who I felt, because I have social anxiety, and at the time it was pretty bad. I was living a very isolated life. So being around these young girls who were also there made me feel even more out of place. And so I found myself more comfortable in a job where I was around middle-aged women who like weren't judging me, weren't necessarily interested in talking to me about my personal life. I just really wanted my job to be my job. I didn't want to make friends. I didn't want to create relationships. I just was there to make money and then bounce, basically.
That's a great lesson for all of us, because I think we often feel that you can get into such a dark place that nothing can get you out. But what you're saying is actually your drive to where you wanted to be and who you wanted to be was able to pull you out of that space to try again.
It was, and I'm very thankful for that. I never really gave myself a plan B. I didn't have a backup option. I knew I was going to be an actress. I didn't know what my career would look like at all, and I still don't know what it's going to look like. But it's because it's still, you know, a hustle, and you're still always working.
Always.
But I really knew this is my dream. I have to do what I have to do to make this work. And I had moved to LA when I was 18, had such bad anxiety while I was here, tried to hold down a job in LA, was hired, didn't even work a shift, had a panic attack and quit.
Wow.
And that was the moment I decided. I Skyped my mom, literally hyperventilating in a paper bag, and said, I need to come home. I'm not okay. Because I had been there for 5 months I'd been here for 5 months at the time and wasn't making any money. And I clearly could not handle the stress and anxiety of holding down a job here. So moved back home for 6 months, went back to Pier 1, worked as many shifts. I think I was working 2 to 3 shifts a week because my anxiety could not handle more. Saved up very little money. We're talking like $1,700 in the span of 6 months because I just could not work that much. But I moved back to LA because there was no other option.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for going into detail with me. I know we like really unpacked every job and every role, but I feel like it's so needed for all of us to hear that, because obviously when people see you doing your thing and, you know, now you're like executive producing and you're an author and, you know, your acting career is booming. It's like, it's easy to believe that you're just confident and you just, you know, it's easy and it's effortless. And, and even today I've met you, you're wonderful. Like you have great presence, you have great energy. And it's like, it's been so easy to connect with you, but to hear that that's the journey that it took to get slightly more comfortable with these things is really useful to everyone who's listening. And of course hard when you're living